I was on mute. I thought you
Back-
guys could just read my lips.
I had to wake up. Way to go, Cameron. Put me to sleep. I'm totally kidding. I was riveted. I almost wanted to go back to brokering freight, Cameron, just for like a minute.
I doubt that, Michael.
You would be correct.
You've been there, done that, right, Michael?
Oh man, I love helping freight brokers though. Like, the best thing about, I think, what I get to do and what Chris and Brad get to do is, none of us are like these Stanford kids with a good idea that think they know more than freight brokers. Like, we've actually done this stuff. Right. And I think, Brad, you and I talked about this a little bit last time. Like, I like helping my friends, right? It's fun to put technology into the marketplace that would have made my life better. Right. Like a problem I actually solved, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think you're right about that. It's pretty fulfilling being able to take an idea and go and help people that might not have the resources on staff, and really help solve a problem something that they're truly dealing with. So I think that's for all of these companies, I think that's really helping drive the purpose of your employees too. So you wake up every day and get excited to go help people.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna hang my hat on my small college university out of East Texas, population of like 15,000 at Stephen F. Austin State University. But just
SFA.
Yeah, there we go, man.
Come on,
the Axum Jacks. But no, that's a great part to this first step here that we're talking about: reliable connectivity, building that future-proof brokerage tech stack. And it's incredible to see how y'all have evolved, just over the years, and how y'all position yourselves as a company, but also taking this first thing, customer-centric approach. Like, we wouldn't be able to do anything that we're doing today without really understanding our customers. And like you said, just helping them book freight. Like, if I had these tools when I was a broker, like, man, it would have been so easy just thinking about like the time that I wouldn't be spending on this task overload and whatnot. But I guess to start there, I don't know, Michael, we'll start with you. I guess that customer-centric approach, like, how have you taken that to see how it evolves, like, the development of your business or your techniques or technologies that you guys use, and how y'all implement that out to customers?
Yeah, man, Chris, I think the way that it started was just, how direct can I be? Like, I think there are a lot of freight brokers that asked people to do things that, had they done them, I don't know that highway would actually exist. Right. And so I think the very first thing you just have to do is the things your customers ask you to do for them.
Yeah.
Like, how many of us when we were brokers got pitched something and we were like, what is this for? How am I going to, you know what I mean? Like, hey, I had this really great idea. And if you'll just completely reorganize the entire brokerage industry, this will be a really great product. It's like, no, like, so what we try to think about is like listening, responding, and just meeting our customers where they want to be, right? Like, not going in and saying, hey, if you'll just do this thing the way we tell you, your life will be better. Like, you have to meet, when you're thinking about a user story, like Cameron, you've probably done this a lot. Like, you've got to meet people where they want to be. They've got to want to adopt it. And so that's how we think about time to value, right? The way that we give really fast time to value is just building things people want to use because they asked us to build it. And we try to have really short release cycles and show a lot of responsiveness in our product to that end.
Yeah. Cameron, I guess to start there, as a TMS, like, y'all have evolved. As a TMS, you've got to sort of handle a lot of different lights on a freight mix, and what a broker is going to book: dray, LTL, partials, full truckload, whatever it is. Like, how have y'all sort of taken that, like, customer-centric approach to roll some of those things out, and how has it evolved, sort of what y'all have done?
Sure. So there's a lot of different things that we do. Me as a technologist, I realize I'm not the freight broker. So what I've personally done over the years, especially in my earlier years, is fly out directly to these freight brokers and actually sit with them, learn how they're utilizing systems and where they're struggling and things they're running up against. Because I'm not going to act like I know the best way of running a freight brokerage. I'm going to rely on our clients. And so that's one thing that we do. But another thing that we do as an organization, that's had a massive impact for us, and I think is a huge differentiator for us, is that we're okay with putting the good, the bad, and ugly out there. We're not like, oh, let's have an offline conversation and let's try to work this out directly with the person that has the issue. We're actually the opposite. We have something that we built called Heads Together, which actually brings a majority of our clients virtually or even in person, like we did in Manhattan Beach this year, where we have a honest discussion. What are the issues you're running up against, or where are we lacking as a technology firm to help you grow? And so the power of that is, instead of having a one-on-one with a client, we now have a 1 on 100 with 100 clients, where you have an open discussion. Hey, this is where I'm having a massive issue. And then it helps you identify what's the best way to solve this problem that maybe the other 99 didn't bring up, and actually introduce something that works for everyone. Whereas previously, and I think I see this a lot with tech firms, is they try to hide the bad instead of putting it out there and help identify, like, what can we do to make this more focused, not just on the one customer that's bringing up the issue, but how do I turn this into a learning opportunity for us, for all clients, and then better our application. So those are just some of the things that we try to do to be extremely customer centric in our thinking.
Yeah, we talked about that in I think one of the other panels earlier about that community-driven experience. I think it was with Dan and Joel. But that's like, what a lot of people are thinking of these days. That cross collaboration is so critical, not just for like us to hear that in like one area, one sitting, but our customers to figure out like, hey, this is the challenge I had last year. This is how either I applied tech to this challenge to overcome that, or like just business wise, strategically, this is what I did. It opens up a lot of conversation there. And I think what you're saying is TMSs, vendors, user conferences are very helpful. So
extremely, yeah.
That's awesome. I guess, Brad, you talked a little bit about this there in your presentation about open API and connectivity. How do you see like those principles sort of shaping, I guess, if you want to call it technology, and how do you, what would you say are like some of the challenges there? Like, especially being on like that shipper integration side, what are some of those big challenges and points of resistance that you see?
I think we're not really seeing it's not a technical challenge. I think it's a people challenge. I think bringing people together and, everybody willing to work together is the biggest challenge. I think that we can find ways to connect technology. I don't think that is the challenge. I think, building a community and having everybody work together, kind of like Don said at Green Screens, and being open, and open API is only as good as everybody willing to work together, right? So I think, to just kind of touch on the customer-centric experience, when we launched bitFreighter, we launched as an EDI platform. We've evolved into a freight integration platform. So much different than 4 years ago. But when we launched, we thought that we were going to just solve the problem by offering unlimited messaging. And we thought that was the problem. But the real problem was actually customer service. The real problem was people aren't scaling EDI or integrations because they need a full-time person on staff to do it. And what we've done is we've offered a single point of contact that is a solutions manager at bitFreighter that becomes that person on staff at the brokerage. So they don't have to have an engineer or somebody that's really super knowledgeable when it comes to integrations. They can leverage a bitFreighter solutions manager. And I think that responsiveness, like, because we come from the space, and brokerages are expected to respond fast, or you're going to miss opportunities, right? And most of our folks either come from a brokerage background, or they understand that the KPIs when it comes to response time is really important. And I think we've flipped that paradigm upside down when it comes to working with a tech company. Is we're hiring freight people, so freight people understand that response time is key. Integrations are part of what we do, but the other part, I think, is it's a people business still. So I think that plays a big part into it.
Yeah, it's like this next topic here, balancing that automation with that human element. Like even for us, I've said it a couple times today, that task overload, like the skill isn't in how many calls you can make, how many emails you can send, like how many loads you can build. It's really in, like, for us, that negotiation process, or your skill to be able to build relationships where that human element is going to be, like, that's almost irreplaceable. Like, even for 3PL systems and brokerware, like how you guys like automate and streamline some of these workflows, that makes it a lot easier for people so they can focus on what's needed. Like even, Michael there with Highway, like the thing shouldn't be figuring out like going to here to here to here to here to think of, should I use this carrier or not? Like all those things can be sort of like, I think you guys phrase it as like business rules. And I guess to that point, like, Michael, how does that balance between automation and that human element? Like, how does it change between like smaller brokerages, large brokerages? How would you talk to somebody about, not compromising that human element, but still using automation to help them with their job?
Well, I mean, I think, Chris, at the end of the day, everybody says, right, at the end of the day, such a junk throwaway phrase. Like there are things that only people can do. So let's just think about the way freight brokers talk to motor carriers, right? Like you actually want to talk to carriers. Like they still want to have a relationship with you. Like they still want to be able to reach a human being and have a conversation with them about the fact that their unloading is being delayed, or their turbo went out, or they got to find road. Like there are human to human things that you can't get away from. And that's why we really double down on this connectivity piece, right? Because if we can take that away from the freight broker, that I have to look at 4 websites, I have to, phone a friend, check a news group, check an email group, and like check a phone number. Like we're going to do all that, right? I want a freight broker to be able to pick up the phone and talk to a carrier and not have to worry, like just have that kind of like, that kind of that relief, right? And if we can do that, you can actually work with less carriers and do more with them. Yeah. Right. So when we think about efficiency in a freight brokerage, right? I mean, it's probably part of, what you're after at Cargo Chief, right, Chris? Like carriers want to do more freight with less people. Brokers want to give more freight to less carriers. Like that's the truth. Yeah. Right. And so if we can help them do that, then relationally they're better, right? There's less tension. So when we think about automation, what you really are after is trust, right? Like a lot of people have kind of been on my trust bandwagon, but we started talking about this months ago, which is the core issue when you're trying to automate something is, do I trust the vendor? Do I trust the data, right? When it comes to brokers and carriers, like, do I trust the carrier? For the carrier, it's, do I trust the broker? And when you don't have trust, you pay trust taxes. You slow things down. You ask additional questions. You double check things, right?
Yeah.
When trust is high, you get trust dividends. You get to go faster. So a lot of what happens around automation is like, let me take the things that I trust, or the vendors that I trust. Let me grab a 3PL systems, a bitFreighter, a Highway, whatever the tech stack is. Let me put these people together that I trust, right? To automate these things, so I don't have to worry about it. I can have peace of mind, and I can just like reduce the cognitive load.
Yeah.
Right. So when I think about automation, the other thing I think about cognitive load, right, is it's expensive to train people. Like, and you don't, like the part of the value chain where we sit, you don't want to have to train cradle grave brokers, carrier reps, account managers, however you're structured, to also be like fraud investigators. Like it's just a lot of load, right?
Yeah.
Last thing I'll say about automation is, I think if you're a tech company, you can't try to play Lord of the Rings, one ring to rule them all, right? Like I do everything. No, you don't. Anybody that says that, no, they don't. They don't do everything. And part of the customer centric approach is like, if you're a tech vendor, like you have to be easy to work with. Like I want Cameron's team to love working with our technical department. Like when you talk about, like, people just say API, Chris, you just say that word. I don't even know what it means. Something.
CNN, NFL, sure. What? No.
Yeah, NFL, API, EDI, just words, right? But that, I know that thing has to be architected in a way where when the customer isn't looking and my group is working with Cameron's group, they don't like get off of a Zoom call and go, God, those Highway people are idiots. right? Like his team needs to love working with us. Be like, man, they develop really well. They're really easy to talk to. We can write to their APIs. It's an easy thing to integrate to.
Yeah.
Right? We want our partners to be motivated to work with us because we're easy to work with. That provides value to the customer.
I think that's a common theme across the game changers and freight that we've seen today is that everybody seems to be, I think the tech companies that are willing to work with others are the ones that are going to win.
Yep.
And the ones that are focused in on their core problem, not trying to do everything, are going to win. And I think that is kind of where and why you had these certain tech providers on the game changers, because those are the ones that are actually willing to work together to solve the bigger problem.
Yeah, it's more like exactly that, but also even from the, we talk to prospects, to companies, brokers across any conference, and like they're craving more partners that do stuff together. Like they see it too. I think, it's no secret when somebody comes to us, like I hope they shopped around. I hope they at least looked at like some other alternatives. Like, I mean, Michael, you talked about opportunity cost and like, how much does it cost for somebody to go do something else? Like that's how a lot of people are thinking of things, but also like, how can we bring all this together to like mitigate risk, reduce that cost and what it's going to actually cost us to go do something different. That's a great point, Brad. I think Cameron, for this topic, like future-proofing our tech stack, like all of us together, like how do y'all make sure that somebody is, or that you guys are creating that environment of adaptability for somebody across integrations, or just what y'all do to make sure that somebody is, I'd probably call it protecting their investment in whatever their, not just money, but time.
Yeah, so there's a few things that we do. One, we do look at partners, not just at what are they building, what are they solving. Like when we integrate with Highway, Michael's company, we looked at their tech stack and it was almost immediately apparent to us, these people actually care about what they're building, and what they're doing actually solves a core issue that we're running up against in our industry. And so immediately that caught our eye, and then clients came to us asking about them. And that's really what drives us to integrate with people. But I think it's really important. There was something that was just said about companies that are trying to solve everything. Those companies are not going to last in the long run. You have to focus on what you're good at. Not, hey, I have some extra money I can invest in building what Highway did or bitFreighter did. It's rely on best in class, integrate together, have people focus on what they're really good at. And if we're talking about future proofing, and for a freight brokerage that is growing significantly, you're not going to want to put all your eggs in one basket to handle, every aspect of your business with just one TMS. For us, that's how we look at it as a TMS. We know Highway's great at what they do. We know bitFreighter's great at what they do. We know you're great at what you do at Cargo Chief. And so we want to partner with people like that. And I think ultimately, even competitors are going to have to look at partnerships in order for this industry to keep going at the rate we want to go at. So, I think it's really important to focus on what you're good at as a tech provider and stay in that lane.
Yeah, you said you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. Chris, earlier, our keynote speaker, said cost of eggs have gone up, so you definitely don't want to do that.
Yeah, they have.
Yeah. So a quick last 30 seconds. Love to hear from each of you guys. Like, how do y'all, think of collaboration and building out your ecosystem of not just customers, but your partnerships to help everything together? I guess, Brad, if you want to take that 30 seconds.
For sure. So we're 100% customer driven. So when we look to collaborate, we're really listening to our customers about what they want. And when customers come to us and they're looking to incorporate green screens or the next pricing engine, that's really where the collaboration piece comes from, is listening to our customers and then saying yes. It's typically, yes, we'll get it done, because we are looking to add those integrations based on where our customers are essentially driving our product.
Yeah. Mike, Michael, sorry.
Yeah, man.
Mike, I don't know why.
It's fine. It's fine. So I think it's a good question. Like a lot like what Brad said. I think my partnership backlog has 65 vendors on it. Right? People that want to work with Highway. And so just like what Brad said, we're going to prioritize that based on what customers need. And then also sometimes like the vendors that are, I don't want to say easiest to work with, but the most collaborative. So I think this is just needs to be said. An integration isn't a solution. A feature isn't a solution.
Right.
So when we look at integrating with someone, we have to work with a partner where we say, hey, what is it the broker is actually trying to get out of this integration? Right? To just pop up a portal page and have a bunch of logos and say you're integrated, it's ridiculous, right? Like we do things a little bit different. Can the TMS, the pricing, the capacity vendor, can they trade the data? Can the integration actually become the solution that the broker is asking for? Not just to say we're integrated, not just passing data onto a screen, right? I think that's really important. There's integrations and then there's like solutions. Does the integration produce a solution that directly impacts the customer's business and has real time to value? And that's kind of our evaluation criteria.
Yeah, it's you know, when people will ask like, are you integrated with so-and-so? Well, yes, of course. But like, what are you really looking for to really figure out like, is there a solution and giving them the outcome they want? I guess, Cameron, last one up. What do you got? What do you got for us? Collaboration ecosystem.
Yeah, so it's going to be really similar to what Michael and Brad said. We have kind of a similar feeling about what Michael just said. At what level are we integrating? What are we truly solving? And one of the things I tell almost every partner, and actually Brad and I just had this conversation, does the client ever have to leave our interface? That's one of the most important things for us as a TMS provider, because if we're integrating and they have to leave the interface to handle what they're doing, meaning after the integration is completed and set, it's not an integration to me as a technologist. That is we're passing some data, but they still have to work in two systems. So for us, we're looking at one, just like Michael said, what is the impact to their ROI? So what is this solving? What does it mean in dollars and cents? Because these executives and these business owners, that's what's important to them. They're running a business. They need to make sure it makes sense. Two, do they have to leave our platform, the TMS, in order to work with that partner? Are we solving something, or is that third party that we're partnering with solving something where they're powering it, they're the brain behind it, and they're making sure everything gets done, but pushing all that back to us? So those are just some of the things we look at, but definitely it's all driven by the client at the end of the day. The client drives our roadmap. It's not us. We're technologists. We're listening to the users.
Yep.
Back in my day of booking freight, I had a customer that told me, if it doesn't make dollars, it doesn't make sense. So it rings true still. Gentlemen, thank you guys for having this discussion today. It was a pleasure. Looking forward to catching up here in the next couple of weeks and stuff. So on to the next panel. We're going to be talking about shifting gears with some of our game changers. So those of you that are still in, stick around. We're going to get to that panel next.